in the apps that like Zoom and Google Meets and whatever this is what we're by, because they've during COVID they've grown so much. Um, yeah, it's
You know,
probably one of those
what's
things.
funny about equivalent thing about that is my dad was a big believer in this company Peloton that makes these stationary bicycles.
I've heard of them. I've seen ads.
Yeah, well, he was a big believer in it just basically because the idea appealed to him. And it was a yeah company, and then I think he got our stockbroker to invest some in the company, and then COVID
Really?
hit, and all of a sudden there's a big market for stationary bicycles, and
Yeah, and like all the gym equipment that nobody could. Like one of my guys at work, he couldn't get gym equipment, so he actually got someone to pour concrete into molds. So he like molded weights from concrete, and people did all sorts of things. People worked out, like they tried to do like set up their own gym equipment in the house and turn garages into gyms, because the wait on any gym equipment was like months. Like you just couldn't get it. Like if you wanted to, even if you like were prepared to pay more, you couldn't get it. There's,
yeah.
well, demand, right? There's no fucking, there's no, yeah, basically.
Okay, so how many of these typing sessions of mine have you seen before?
I haven't seen any of your typing sessions.
Really?
Yeah, I have watched your I don't want to say rants. I just like the way you talk stuff. And in particular, I watch you every time I have like I got you in the background a lot, because I just like how you read comments and like you go like a name of someone and you go like so and so. Well, you're making a valid point, but this is what I'm going to tell you. And okay, you go like, in order for what you're saying to be true, the following conditions need to be met. And I enjoy that greatly. And it's like you never say like you're such an idiot. You just go like, okay, let me just explain to you the logic behind what I'm trying to tell you. And that is what I like, and
I
that's what
I
like.
wish I never told people they were idiots, but
Yeah, it's you can't. Like people get too offended
I
too easy.
still do anyway sometimes. Okay, so cool. That means I can ask whatever questions, and you've
Yeah,
not.
no, that's didn't watch it. I was typed before by other people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your favorites.
Uh-huh.
We can compare experiences later on.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, can you tell me a personal anecdote of something that happened in the last couple of weeks that was sort of memorable to you?
couple of weeks memorable to me. Memorable. Okay.
It should be insignificant, maybe, but you remember it for whatever reason. So, for example, well, I was downtown. I went to park my car in this lot, and the guy he took my
When?
keys, and then he
Yeah.
forgot to give me a slip, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So how long do you want it to be? Um. Uh. Yeah, because I can rant.
Go ahead. Let me hear. I need this is
uh.
how I need to hear you.
So basically, 3 minutes. I don't know. It was just like, oh,
Go.
right, right. So I went 3 weeks ago. I met this girl randomly in London on an event, and then 2 weeks later she says, "I won this ticket, VIP tickets to a festival." So I'm like, "I've never been to a festival, but I've been camping. Let's do this, right? I need new friends. Why not? Like, what can go wrong, right?" So I end up going with this woman whom I met like twice to a fucking festival. Week 10, I had to buy like a 10 and everything because I had no shit. I didn't even have a sleeping bag, right? It sounded like a great idea, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, like how am I going to do this? I gotta figure out like sleeping bags, tents. It's like 5 days away. Anyways, I pick up this woman, and she turns out to be batshit crazy. Like seriously, fucking. She told me later on that she has 5 disorders or 4 disorders, like by like all sorts of stuff happening, right? But I didn't know that. She just sounded like a cool girl that I could hang out, like make a new friend, right? The whole thing, she just. I felt like I've been gaslighted. I'm questioning every decision I'm making. She's jealous. She's making scenes. She's shouting at me. I'm acting like a 2-year-old. She's acting like a 2-year-old. The whole trip is like she's screaming at me, crying. Anyways, but basically, long story short, I'm trying to make a new friend, right? This whole thing lasts 4 days, 4 or 5 days. She's like becoming like stalkish, borderline. We're trying to avoid each other. Anyways, Um, I made some friends. She was like incredibly jealous of them to a point when I'm like, this shit is ridiculous. Like I'm not 4 years old. I'm not in a fucking prime school, right? This is not, Anyways, so um what is the point? Not only did I get stuck with her in this tent, who was actually she was like she came to me and asked me if I'm okay because they were like concerned about that woman. But on the way out, all the roads from the festival were closed, and I got stuck with her for 10 hours in a fucking car. 10 hours, and we made like a mile. Right, we made like a mile. So I'm like, something is testing me. Like something's testing all of my sanity, all of my like empathy, and all the time I'm like, I'm setting myself like, okay, try to get into her shoes. Maybe she's gonna like try to be like this, and then I'm like fucking exploding. Like, no, doesn't make sense. Stop saying that. Can you just shut up, or I'm gonna kick you out of this car. So I've been what is the anecdote? I don't know. So
That,
for I was stuck five days with a person that really tested me like completely.
I
Then I
see.
got with her in the car for like 10 hours. Then turns out that all the roads were closed, so I had to get a hotel room and spend the whole night in the hotel room with her. Then she screamed at me because the deal was that I dropped her off at the train station, and she then expected me because she was like, "We're going camping, right?" And she has fucking two backpacks, four bags. I'm like, "How's she gonna go on the train? She's not gonna go on the train. She's not gonna carry that shit on the train." She knew all the time that she's gonna ask me to drop her off in the middle of fucking nowhere in because she lives in like a sticks like countryside. So I'm already feeling like pissed off because she's trying to take advantage of me. She's shouting at me like, "Oh, I'm gonna faint. I'm gonna faint if you leave me at the train station." So I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna drop her off, and I'm never gonna talk to her again." And then on the way there, I drop her off in the middle of the sticks. My car breaks down in the middle of. So I'm like, I'm 6 hours away from home. I have to pay for recovery track. The recovery track gets me home. This is already we trying to make it home for 2 days at that point, right? Then I get home and I get fucking COVID the next day. And then I'm down for 2 weeks down. So one message from her. I've got the VIP tickets. Do you want to come with me? Me just saying, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Like, what could go wrong? Like, everything that could possibly fucking go wrong goes wrong. And I'm just recovering my breath, my voice, and my freaking sanity just slowly
Oh,
now. That's my recent adventure.
oh, that's very interesting. Um, so,
I still had fun. I met some cool people. It was a good festival. It was just a like I can tell this story much more funnier. Like
well,
if I
let me explain
detail.
what I've observed here in the storytelling. First of all, is that you you started off with the basic thing is I I knew this girl, met her briefly, we hung out or whatever, and then she called me and said, "Hey, I've got the tickets you want to go with," right? And then you told this whole big story, but at the end you circled back twice, about three quarters of the way to recap the beginning of the meow part of the story, and then at the end to recap the thesis. So that those are things I observed. Okay, let me ask you: can you define truth for me? What's your definition of truth?
Truth is absolute. Truth is something that can objectively be proven by enough evidence or logic so that there's no dispute.
Okay. Do you
So
think
like
do you think it's better to prove something with evidence or logic?
logic.
Okay. So
Because sometimes evidence might just be missing. Just absence of evidence doesn't mean that it's not true, right?
right. So can you uh, talk about like existing theories that you see as being more evidentiarily based and or more logically based?
Like a comparison. One is this and the other one's that. So, well, like religion, right? So, I would say, so let me just, so if you look at religion, is that based on logic or is that based on Oh, existence of God, right? Let's say existence of God. Is there God or not, right? Evidentially speaking, people say there's miracles, but really, in a controlled environment, you can't reproduce a miracle. Therefore, I can't quite say that miracles are something observable and something that I can agree with, right? Therefore, there's absence of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then, that's a theory that I don't see. Like I don't see like a Morgan Freeman sitting on a cloud and he's like doing a God thing, right? And I don't see like this Bible being a book that everybody needs to abide by, because then it's like, well, if there's one God, why there is a God in every freaking continent, right? But then that could also be used as a as a um, right. That cannot really be used as evidence for it existing. It's just an evidence for the need in people to have something to believe in, right? It's not that all of the religions are based on observable miracles, right? Because some of them are just observing nature. I mean, nature could be defined as miracles for people, I suppose,
I
as
mean,
we evolve
I
with
would say
science.
I'd say prayer is an existent behavior.
Prayer is an existing behavior. Um, prayer is that prayer is it prayer? Is it thinking connected to a feeling of hope? Um,
I mean,
like a thinking and feeling connection kind of
well,
thing.
I mean, my take on it is that it's not an argumentationally based thing any more than jogging or eating lunch. You know, having a sandwich for lunch. It's like the problem that people have in arguing about God is that they get bogged down in this notion of existentiality, whereas really it's only a meaningful frame of reference insofar as you use it as your magical thinking frame. And
Mm.
so the idea that you have a magical thinking frame that you use is predicated on the notion that it's not argumentationally supported by anything. So, I mean, as long as you compartmentalize it enough, it seems I don't really find any contradictions there. I think people just kind of misunderstand the nature of what a belief is or something. Anyway, I don't want to get caught up talking
Right,
philosophy with you.
right,
I
right.
already know what type you've got to be, but I'm going to go through my very series of tests here.
It's very
Uh,
fast. But then again, like this is what you do all day, so yeah.
yeah. Okay, so if I were to ask you to come up with 5 different reasons why the United States should invade Canada, what would you come up with? What do you come up with?
You get more land, you get to expand your resources, you connect to Alaska. Um, mm,
That's a
mm,
good
mm,
one.
mm, mm.
Contiguousness with Alaska is a good one. I've never heard that one before.
Oh yeah, because you get that
Oh, no, it
link, right?
makes great sense. Hey.
And then you get to drill up north quicker. Like everybody's rushing to drill there, right up north, so you get your roots there. And timber probably because they've got loads of forests and resources, right? So you can imagine what you could do with all those like forests and timber. Like America is building like crazy, right? Like I've never been to America, but all I can see is like people just building, 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 right? Like exploiting the light world. So if you take on those resources, it's the natural resources, right, as well, because it seems to me, from my knowledge, in my opinion, that Canada had protected the resources, natural resources.
Don't forget about our passionate hatred of Canadians.
Oh, also, yeah, I don't know. Also, I don't know. I don't know if America could get away with this. Imagine what the rest of the world would do if America attacked Canada. Like, would people like what would the rest of the world do? Would people stand by Canada? I don't know what political ties they have,
Oh,
but
no,
if
no, no. We're not attacking them. We're just everyone just look away. We're merely opening the borders and making us one country called America.
yeah, okay, so there you go. So I think I've given you like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so let me ask you some TI questions. If some frogs wear sunglasses
Uh-huh.
and all things that wear sunglasses are named Bruce, is it necessarily the case that some frogs are named Bruce?
So if some frogs wear sunglasses, but
And,
all things
and
that
all things that wear sunglasses are named Bruce.
yeah, then they'll be frogs called Bruce. Yeah,
Okay. If only
they sit in the same sack then,
if
right?
only Asian pears come from Europe, and I come from Europe, am I necessarily an Asian pear?
You mean pear as a fruit?
Yeah. If
Okay, because I feel like people are couples.
no,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Pear.
So like, so if only Asian pear. Say again.
If
If only
only Asian pears come from Europe, and I come from Europe, am I necessarily an Asian pear?
if only Asian pears. It's just my brain just keeps jumping with images of fruits and now couples. If only Asian. And I get like Asian couples wearing pears.
An Asian pear is a certain kind of fruit. We have an Asian pear in the tree in the backyard. Is why I picked it. I'm looking at them right now. It's full of Asian pears. They're these yellow. They look kind of like yellow apples, but I'll show you one. So, what do you think?
If
If
only Asian pears
come
come
from
from Europe,
Europe, and I come from Europe,
then you're an Asian pear because that's the only thing that comes from Europe.
right? Okay.
But I
Um,
mean,
can you?
obviously, there's more things coming from Europe. But if you say it's the only thing that comes from Europe, and you're that only thing that you'd be, the only thing you could be is that pear, right?
Okay. Can you tell me who my mother's husband is in relation to me?
Your mother's husband is your granddad.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
How about my father's sister's husband's only son in relation to me?
So your father's got a sister, and she's got a son. So that's your cousin, first
Right,
cousin.
right, right. Okay. So you're real easy for me to type. And what I think is really interesting here is the last person I typed before you. So I had a typing session this morning at 10 o'clock. And then
Okay.
I had to work with my student, Jeffrey, on his logic homework. He had some questions he wanted me to help him with. So I did that from 11:15 to 12:15, and then I had this typing session. Right, the first person
Right.
I typed is a former Lincoln Douglas debater who debated in high school, is currently a practicing attorney, and came into the session absolutely convinced he was an ENTP,
Mm-hmm.
and I typed him as an ISFJ. And he and
Okay.
his whole family was shocked. There were three of them there, and they were all absolutely stunned when I said he was an ISFJ, and they couldn't believe it. Okay.
Okay. So my
However, I shared their video with them privately. You are an ENTP. This is an ENTP, and the difference is so stark. Nobody could deny it. So
oh my god. Yeah. So okay, Chase says I'm an ENTP, and I was typed by two other people, typists, who said I'm an ENTP. So you're the fourth person to tell me that.
you are an actual ENTP for sure.
And so this is why I'm always sticking out. This is why I don't fit in. I never fucking fit in into this society. I always knew there's something different or wrong about me.
Listen,
This is
you're so much of an ENTP that C.S. Joseph got you right, and he doesn't get anybody right.
yeah. I challenged C.S. Joseph on the ENTP because I was really new to the because I was so new to the typing thing. But I knew that there's something in there that will help me understand why am I like this, because I know I'm different. Like I know I know I kind of coast through life, but I'm incredibly lazy as well. So like I've got things set up, and I'm like I could be like this one of the super achievers, but I'm like, why do I fucking? But like I can imagine what it would be like if I achieved so much, and at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter, and I don't care.
Let me just say,
so
Arya,
it's,
you are
so,
a true unicorn. Okay,
so it's
you are a true unicorn. There are very few female ENTPs in the world.
so
I occasionally do type them, but there are very few of you, and you are a glowing example of one.
like at age 28, I already ran a legal compliance agency in UK because like I found a way to systemize things at work, right? So I made directors shitloads of money. They promoted me, and then age 28, I'm like I've got 45 employees. I'm like managing the business, and I'm like, I bought my own house at 30, and then I just breaks off, slow down, and I feel this guilt in me because I feel like I could achieve, if I really wanted to, I could achieve anything. And then part of me is like, oh, what's the point? And then can I really be bothered because I can understand how much work and effort goes into it.
We never
And
appreciate the opportunity or the quality of the situation we're in until after we've thrown it away. That's part of being FI polar, you know?
that's very much like that in relationships. I know for fact that my relationship with my own feelings is pretty much cut off at the head. Like I don't know. Like if I'm 33 and I'm single, and it's hard for me to date, and it's hard for me to find. I don't think I was ever in a relationship that I actually like loved someone, because it's just not. I had fun with people. It was good, but it's hard for me to form like.
Well, here's the thing. You go into meeting any other person and you're only concerned with how much they like you. And you
Yes,
never
how
think
much
about whether you
thinking.
like them.
Yeah, and it's also like I only recently noticed that some people make my brain light up, and this is the quality I'm looking for now in a potential partner, because I figured out that everything else bollocks nonsense, how we look, whatever. It's at the end of the day, my brain needs to be active and engaged for me to maintain any interest in that person. They need
But
to challenge me intellectually,
but
and they need
no,
to
they
be
don't.
my
No,
thoughts.
no, you're totally wrong. Okay,
Why? How? Otherwise, I get bored. I get so bored. Like,
Aga, it is clear that you need somebody who wants to listen to you.
yeah.
Okay, you want to talk. So do I, right? You know, it's like we don't need somebody who's intellectually engaging and challenging us. We need somebody who's listening to our ideas because that's who they are. They like to listen to good new ideas. There's only a couple of types that do that, and those are NI-DOMs. They are not going to be challenging you on TI grounds. You do not want a relationship with an INTP or another ENTP or an ESTP or an ISTP. You don't want to battle TI battles all the time.
No, you're right. You're right. What I want is someone to go, this is interesting. Oh, I
How
never thought
how
about this.
insightful, Aga! Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, you
yeah,
are so
literally.
clever. You are so
And
talented. You are so
and then
smart.
and this is like this is. I'm like, this is obvious.
I'm guessing you're gonna not have any problem with me publishing this video. Am I right? You're gonna be okay with that?
Do you want to publish this
Of
video? Oh
course I do. Of course I want to.
my god! I should have tidied up. I should
No,
have
no.
loved
The reason I want to is because this is. I want the family that I typed earlier to see this, and so that then I can say to them, look, because we ended that session with them going, we want another session to retype him because we're so convinced he's an ENTP. I want them to watch this typing session, okay? And then okay, here's some of the questions that I asked him. I'm going to demonstrate making up a 4-line poem. You give me 2 nouns to start off with.
apple, banana.
Okay.
It's because you're thinking because we were on fruit before.
Okay. I I want to get a barrel full of apples. Instead, I found myself in Panama. And now I've got a whole big, large, full crap full of yellow, ripe, delicious bananas. Okay, now I'll give you 2 nouns and you do the same
Okay.
thing, okay?
Yeah.
Frog and dirt.
I once knew frog called Kurt. She lived in South Australia. She loved just swimming in the dirt, and that's what I gotta tell you. I don't know. This is silly.
Fantastic. No, that's absolutely fantastic. Okay. All right. Have you heard me ask Anky Panky questions before?
No.
All right. So let me give you an example. The clue would be something like hilltop water spout. And I'd tell you it's an inky pinky, which means the answer has 2 syllables each word. And the answer to that one is mountain fountain. The answer is always going to rhyme. Okay.
Yeah,
Here's
okay. I would be probably better than that in Polish because this is my second language. So sometimes my brain gets confused and it links words to
no.
different.
I got you. But let me. I'm not going to give you challenging ones just to demonstrate. Like, okay. So, for example, another example one would be if I said roadway flesh and it's an ink pink, the answer would be street meat. Okay. So
Yeah.
so here's how about bunny addiction and it's an inky pinky.
Bunny addiction. Is this very American? Is this like an American slang?
No, I don't think so.
Bunny addiction, hinky pinky. Okay. No, I don't know. I've
Look at
got
those
nothing.
eyes going back and forth. Okay, so it's rabbit habit.
I've never heard of that.
No, it's not a thing.
A
The
rabbit habit.
like the
Oh, so
two.
it doesn't have to rhyme.
Yeah, the answer has to rhyme,
Oh,
and
I didn't get that.
it means bunny addiction, rabbit habit.
Okay, give me another one. If it has to rhyme, that's fine. Okay,
Okay,
great.
all right. Here, I'll give you another one. Uh,
You have it, yeah.
oh, you know what? I just realized this morning when I was looking in my Google Docs, looking for something else, I saw that I have Google Docs with these things on them on it. So let me go find that document. This says it's called Inky Pinkies. Inky there.
So
Okay.
we just find synonyms that basically, yeah.
Okay.
Reflect.
So how about an energetic primate? It's an Inky Pinky.
Monkey, monkey. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. It's a
No, it's like a
it's a spunky monkey. Is right.
Frank
Okay.
monkey, something like that. Yeah, yeah, okay.
All right. So now I'm going to ask you, can you make up one of these for me?
Yeah, sure. Um, so it's like a pattern that oh god. Right. So I need to find words and then they need to rhyme and they need to be replaceable and they need to mean something. Ugh.
That's excellent parsing of the of the various cognitive steps required to do this.
No, I have the process. I have
And,
the
no,
process.
you did an excellent job, not just of determining it, but of stating it. That's
Yeah, this is for my I need to say it out loud so I hear it and then I can follow it. Like I tell myself what to do. So okay, you know what I do. Um like I only keep I'm keep finding ones that are like that already exist. Can we do one that exists? Because I get the concept.
yeah,
Okay, so it's like a
sure. Do one that exists. I mean, I don't even know what you mean by that, but go ahead.
so it's and my description doesn't have to rhyme.
The description does not have to rhyme, and it should contain neither of the words in the
Okay,
answer.
lovingly engaged.
Um, lovingly engaged, huh? Um,
Sorry, emotionally engaged. Emotionally engaged.
emotionally engaged. Okay, so feeling dealing.
You know, it could be lovey-dovey. That's what
Oh,
we say in UK. It's like when someone's very lovey-dovey, they're like together emotionally.
I think feeling dealing is a better answer.
It's not incorrect. It's not what I thought.
Because the first word of the clue is it means the first word of the answer, and the second word of the clue means the second word of the answer.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I feel like if I knew this game, if I just had a few goes at this
I
game,
know. No,
rest
I
of me
got
get
you. I got you. Have you ever heard me ask the troll question before?
no.
Okay, then great. I will ask it. I don't think I've ever had the chance to ask it of an ENTP before, or if I had, I don't think I successfully asked it. I'm curious to see how you deal with it.
I
So
feel the pressure.
it it's a story question. So
Okay.
as you're going to be the mayor of the town, and you can either ask me, the narrator, questions. You can interact with characters in the story, and I'll take on the voice of those characters, or you can take various actions. Okay. You have a panel of advisors. Your town, it's a Middle Ages. Your town is split in two by a river. On one half of the river is all your farms, your silos, your livestock, stuff like that. On the other half of the river are your townspeople, your merchants, your craftsmen. Now, the river is crossed by a bridge until one day the bridge washes away. It's right before winter. So you have to start taking your food across for the people on boats. Unfortunately, a river troll comes and takes up residence in your river. Now, this river troll has a magical power. No matter how much you have it locked away or hidden under stuff, if you have any food on a boat, he can run up to that boat, steal 10% of the food, and run away before anybody can even see or know he was there. And there's nothing you can do to stop him from doing this. He calls it the troll tax. Any food on a boat crossing the river, would eat one crust of bread or a whole dead cow, he'll take 10% of it. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
the problem is you only have enough food stored up for everyone to eat all winter long, and nobody starve. If you continue to pay the troll tax, then about ten
Somebody start.
about 10% of your people will starve. And the people say, "Well, do something about this, Mayor." So what do you do?
Can I transport the craft people into the farm and then just spend the day time there? So I transport people into food. Why do I have to
Yes,
transport
that's the
people?
best answer. You immediately got the best answer. Congratulations.
Okay. Should
Almost
have, right?
nobody ever does get this answer.
No, no,
Almost
seriously, because
nobody
like
does.
it's the same equation. It's like you're transporting one or another, and if one is perishable, then the other one is more constant, and it will substant. It's not the troll's not gonna eat the people, right?
I have probably asked this question to 1,000 different people, and maybe like 20
Or
of
you
them, maybe 20 of
or
them
you
have
could
gotten
go
to that
like really
answer.
like, but this is like the most pacifistic, right? Like you could go really brutal and go like what they did in Sparta. You get rid of the weak, the 10%. You create a distraction because you could like the question is like how many boats have we got as well? Like could we like could like no that wouldn't work because no we don't want to go
Okay,
there. This
so
is
listen,
I don't want to go there.
I'll tell you all the I've asked this so many times that I've heard every possible answer you can get, and I have the answer to everything. So it's like the thing is, if you continue moving the people and not the food for about a week, the troll goes away because he's not getting anything, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of the winter. And so that's one way to solve the problem. Okay, there are other ways to solve the problem. It is possible to kill the troll. You can negotiate with the troll, although you won't end up really solving it. You just make it better. You can people sometimes catapult the food across the river, which works. He can't
Yeah, it works.
he can't jump that high. So, but it does mean you eat very smashed food.
Yeah, it depends on what the food is, and also like yeah, you don't want to damage food. You got to build a catapult. It's like a lot of hassle.
Well, you already have a catapult, but if you catapult a bunch of puff pastries, for example, it's really going to be a mess when you get to the other side.
You see, Eric, that the pastries would be made in the crafts department because this is where you've got the tools.
Oh, I see.
So
Oh, you're
you would
right.
have a
I stand
seed.
corrected.
These people are just they would be thrown in just like sacks with whatever the ingredients are. It's obviously not going to work with eggs and shit like that. So you're still going to
Eggs
be
are a
wasting
problem,
food.
aren't they? Well, then it
Well,
becomes like a high school physics experiment, where you got to figure out how to package all the eggs so much that they can withstand the force of being flung by
yeah,
catapults across the river.
yeah, literally that. And then you can't really waste food. So what is the best solution is protecting food and really because there's other ways. But if you really have to protect the food will be mostly protected if we don't risk the food, right?
Now, I want you to think about this though. You're killing two birds with one stone if you choose to catapult the livestock across the river, because then they arrive slaughtered.
Okay, okay. So are you asking, what are you asking me? If this is a good idea or what we would do with this?
I'm just ripping off you at this point.
Uh, okay,
All right.
it's cool. It's cruel. I think 50% of population would like say like this mayor is like cruel for animals, and we would
No,
be.
no, no, it's not cruel. They think for a moment they're flying. They're like, "Oh my god, I've learned how to fly," and
This
then,
is fun.
at the last second, all of a sudden, splat, they're dead. You know.
You could do that. You could catapult like a cow or something. Then you gotta
It,
line up all the resources to like do the meat production and all that.
it's giving them a final false hope before their inevitable passing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I'm gonna get away.
Like, all I'm thinking now is like I have very dark scenarios, and if you're trying to publish this, I'm gonna stop here.
All
I
right,
am
let's
not
stop
gonna
right here.
share
Let's
anything
stop
else.
right here. Okay, so that's the FI polar. How do you think you're feeling emotionally right now?
Ah, I have fun, and I feel joy, and it's good. It's
It's important too. It just won't
Yeah,
last, and it doesn't matter 15 minutes from now.
yeah. I mean, 15 minutes from now. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like you're an ENTP, and it's like wow, it's great. It's rare, but like I said, it's challenging. It's challenging to be a girl ENTP. It really is. It's not.
In general, it's challenging to be an action type. You know, each of the action types have their own set of challenges. ENTPs typically have to learn how to value themselves at all. We're
Who else is an action type?
at ESTPs, ESFPs, and ENFPs. Those are the
Okay.
two NE DOMs and the two SE DOMs.
Okay.
My daughter's an ESTP, and
My brother is ESTP, I think.
I used to think my daughter was an ENTP until I finally met a real girl ENTP, which was Becky. She was, and I was like, okay. And I talked to her, and I was like, okay, my daughter is not an ENTP. She must be an ESTP because she was definitely TI tool FE third, FI polar. She kind of seemed a lot like me. I kind of,
Okay. So I don't know if you what your relationship with your daughter is like. How old is your daughter?
she's like 22.
Trying to.
Fantastic.
Okay, so you will have had arguments, right?
Not
And
really. We don't have
not
any arguments.
so get this. And my brother is an ESTP. He got typed as well, so ESTP. And when we argue, he's raging at me, and I can just stand there with a packet of crisps. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, and
That's an enneagram thing.
he's trying to strangle me, and he's just like, I can't talk to you. Every time I give you something, you pull out some silly stuff from somewhere else. I can. It's the funniest thing ever, but I don't know what it is, but the rage that we can pull out of each other, it's like, and we both admitted it afterwards. It's like nobody can wind us up as much as we can to do that to each other. I don't know whether it's because it's family or it's because we're those types, or that TI is fighting, but it's like rage. It's like you're freaking what's going on here? Like I would have to
But it's
separate.
only the ESTP who's getting mad at the ENTP in that context, I would guess.
He is more, yeah, he is. I'm just like trying to not to poke him too much, but if I just poke a few times, he's just like exploding, right?
I don't have any of that with my daughter, and I think it's partially because I guess FI wins in that relationship. So there are some things that I want to argue with her about sometimes, or disagree with her about, or think she's not being adequately TI. Because you know how ESTPs, they TI within their frame and they don't necessarily TI between frames. So it's like as long as it's logical here and within this narrow frame of reference, that's good enough. Even if it's not logical within another larger frame of reference. And anyway,
But it's also your maturity, because the older I get, the less disagreements we have, and the more I go like, I don't want to argue. I don't give a. It does this does really not matter to me that much.
That's more of an Enneagram thing, I think, than it is a typology thing. So it's like, I'm Enneagram 8. I'm the one who wants to generally argue, but I don't like arguing with my daughter because I just don't like arguing with my family at all. In fact, I grew up in a family where we there was never any conflict. You know, it's like everybody, when there was a disagreement, there was quick resolution. And I raised Lila the same way. Lila and I would occasionally have a little blow up, and then we'd say, I'm sorry too, and we'd hug, and that would be it. There was never any grudges. That made the relationship so easy, you know, because we're both bipolar. We don't believe in holding on to shit as long as the statuses have been
Yeah,
corrected.
yeah.
As long as the person goes, yes, I was wrong about this, then we're fine.
Okay, tell me this. What would make a person think that I am an ESFJ? Because out of 3 typists, one of them initially typed me as ENTP. After we got closer to each other, we kind of became like friends. She then changed, and she said, actually, I think your FE is stronger, and I'm thinking you're an ESFJ, which caused disagreements, but she was like convinced that I am that.
How did she test your TI?
Uh, to be honest, I don't think she was. I don't know how she tested my TI. I don't know. I'm not aware of what she exactly did. She was mainly relying on speech patterns to type people. I would think so.
That'd be
I might
difficult
be
with you.
correct.
Very, very difficult with you because you're not a native English speaker. If you were going to use that, but
all right.
the thing is, to type somebody properly is to narrow down the definitionally a given function or two, such that they can be operationalized definitionally. Which means, because TI is defined as capacity and conditional logic, and because I've asked the same kind of TI question to hundreds of people, I can tell where on the spectrum of competence you are in that skill. That skill correlates very strongly with the cognitive function called introverted thinking. So I know your front stack higher than third because you took immediately that stuff. Equivalently, I can test extroverted intuition as a skill. When I asked you to do that poem, yours was better than mine. And I've never said that in a typing session before.
Woo!
You know, you definitely won that competition. That right there proves you're an ENTP or an ENFP. Okay, because ENFPs can be good at that shit too, just as good as us. But the difference is when it comes to talking about ideas and what's right or correct or incorrect, they want to mush everything out except what they feel. They'll make assertions like, well, here's what I believe and what I think should be the case. But when you try to generalize from those rules, hold them to consistency or stuff like that, then they say, basically, they critique black and white thinking. So they can be very frustrating to argue with.
Yeah, because it's like, give me something to work with, because the point of argument is there's got to be a point at which we are able to have flexibility and openness to other ideas, right? If we are starting with presupposition that my position is set, there's no point me arguing and share my thoughts with you. I'll go somewhere else, because it's like, you stated your position. There's no point arguing if there's no give, right?
The point is for the two things to be responsive to each other, so you can eliminate certain claims and sustain other claims and make sort of intellectual progress with the language.
Yeah.
ENFPs don't see it that way.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, but for me this is true. It's like, how can this be true for you? It's either true or not.
They'll say, what's more important than what's true or not or right or wrong is that you're imposing the idea that things are true or not or right or wrong on these people who don't want to be that, don't want to have that. Okay?
Yeah.
The thing is, of course, those people, and the ENFPs as well, they all have to play, unfortunately. Everybody has to play on TI's field, which is to say, they're making claims. They expect their words to be understood and taken seriously. They expect people to listen to them and be responsive accordingly. So, but then they're not responsive in return. It's like I make these arguments about how
Okay,
TI is
get it.
objective. People who disagree with me after the videos that I make, they leave comments that don't respond to anything I said. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. It's just like, oh, now I have nothing else to give, or I don't know how to respond to this comment now because you have taken this conversation into a different avenue. You've introduced an extra set of data to which I cannot really respond in a manner that will win this argument. I'm not interested anymore. It's like, no, no. I mean, to some extent, I'm sometimes not interested in continuing arguing with people because I feel like it's pointless. And for me, it's like,
Yeah, it depends who you're arguing with.
I really don't give a shit. Like, no, like, I don't care. Like, okay, I'll just walk away.
Yeah, if somebody's shifting ground, there's not really any point to arguing with them. So it's
Yeah.
like if you say meow 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 meow, if they go, well, apples are mammals, and you say no, apples aren't mammals because meow. Then they go, well, oranges are reptiles, and you go, wait,
What is
wait,
this?
hold on. Can we agree that apples aren't mammals first? You just sort of walked away from that trash you left back there, you know?
Yeah. And another thing that frustrates me as well is if people just argue from my feeling, or they just keep coming at you with, yeah, but I feel like this, yeah, but I feel like that, and they like throw at you a lot of judgments without really having explored the depth of everything that's connected to this concept before that judgment should be made, in my opinion. Because you, in calling someone, let's say, dumb or stupid, right? Some people make that judgment so fast that they have to be incorrect because they haven't known the person so long, or they haven't spent enough time with them, they haven't asked the right questions, or the definitions of stupid and smart is just incorrect, right? But those people also frustrate me as well because it's like, well, we haven't really, like, you haven't earned the right to give that label if you haven't taken time to examine the matter properly. That's where I kind of sometimes get frustrated as well. I don't know which type would do that, but for me, it's definitely like, it's a blocker for me because it's like, you're
Well,
probably not going to appreciate my logic if I share it. So it's like, yeah.
see, I just can't help but get frustrated and mad. And like I left in a comment earlier to somebody, I finished it with, "Please think better."
It's such an insult, though. I don't know. It's like, how do you even, can you teach? Like, how much of that can you teach?
I
And
can
how
get
much
away with it more of it than you because I'm a dude and you're a girl.
I just keep continuously being told, like, I had problems with HR at work. They told me I have to be nicer to people. They told me I have to be, no, honestly, they told me I need to be like taking feelings into consideration. Like I had
I
problems.
am. That's why I'm shoving my foot up their ass so that they feel it.
I think if I'm sharing my thoughts with somebody and giving them the truth is the kindest thing I can do to a person. If I don't care about somebody, then I won't share my thoughts with them because they don't deserve it, or they like it will be wasted, right? So it's
Listen,
ultimate kindness to be truthful.
listen.
Like,
Let me
people
be
don't.
honest with you, Agnes. Let me be honest. You suck ass. I've seen a lot of people come through here, and you are one shitty motherfucking employee. Let me just tell you that right now. I want to be honest with you because my truth is so liberating for you.
What do you mean I suck ass at what? What am I? What am I? Yeah. Well, honestly, it's like I will just go and, well, you have to deliver feedback in a way that is efficient. So I understand that I need to adjust the style for people to be able to absorb it because it's my responsibility as the communicator to convey that message. And if I have the skill of adjusting my communication style, therefore I should use it because that's my tool. That's my toolkit, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, I feel like I'm gonna splat these things and everybody walks around offended. It doesn't work in my interest and it doesn't work in their interests. So I'm happy to
It's the
adjust.
burden. It's the
It,
burden.
it is, it's draining. It's draining. It takes, because you're there and they're here, right? And you're like, come on, come on, come
But
on, and
I
no one
was
is all that.
shocked. Let me tell you something. When I became the director of a chain of debate schools, well, I mean, I first when I became the director of that business and it became that anyway. I was shocked at the incredibly low quality of work that people did. I was just like, I can't believe the way it used to be when I was a teacher and there was some principal or other director in charge of me. I was always like scared, like, God, I'm using only fucking 10% of my effort here. This is so shitty. I can't believe I'm turning this shit in. It was miles better than the shit that people would turn into me.
Yeah, and I get sometimes I get like super anal about if there's document produced in business. I will be like, where's the consistency? Where's the template? How is this logo like that? Where are the bullet points? Like how, like I see this document and I can already like compare it to what it should be standard wise. Um,
That's
and
very six slot demonstrative ENTPTE, which is to say, it's all about rendering ordinalities into algorithms that people can use.
yeah,
We're good at
this
that
thing-
part of TE.
yeah, it's like in business, I'm trying to set as many processes that are relatively easy to follow so that people can do their jobs on their own and execute to a level of standard that's acceptable by objective means, acceptable. So the minimal errors, KPIs, etc. Right? So if
Right.
we've got this, then it runs itself. If a business can run itself when you're out of the business, then the business is successful, right?
Yeah.
And you also have on top of that, you then also can focus, instead of on running it, on streamlining. So that's the natural evolution of process improvement, right?
You sound like me talking to my old boss. The thing is, it's like what you said there about making it effective for people. It's like I ended up naming all these different basically sets of data and
Yeah.
or binders as but with animal names like ape bird, like that kind of stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that it was easy for people to distinguish between a document that's been shaped for this grade level and this thing versus the same document that's been shaped for another grade level and other things. So they get the idea that they're unique documents, and without
Yeah.
having to have some complicated filing
Was it
system, right?
pies? Was it like a bird is like birdie is like a small thingy, and then the cow and or a mammoth is like a big, big, big thing that we do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there'd be each of the binders had its own animal, and there was sort of a taxonomy of like the little kids or
Yeah, okay, I
birds
see
and like
that.
yeah, like that, yeah.
I
And,
see
and I
that.
mean, and the thing is that you need to do that for adults too, because like even smart people, it's like, okay, I don't need some string of numbers and letters that's going to be difficult to remember.
You creating anchors for them to hook into to call in certain pieces of data at the time of where when they need to access those anchors, right?
Yeah,
I also, another thing is you have to make it difficult for people to do it incorrectly.
yeah, yeah.
And so if you do that, then you have better chances of like, you're gonna be like, if you don't follow the process, you're gonna wait longer, you're not gonna get it approved, and I'm gonna send it back to do it again, right? You do it enough times, people learn that actually following this thing is actually probably the best thing for everything, for everybody, right? So I think there's other techniques. I am fortunate enough that my boss is an INTP, so
You
we
are
have,
fortunate.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, we have a good conversations, and we have a good laugh often about logic.
I had an ENTJ boss who was a full blast country without a re, and and couldn't handle the fact that I would when I corrected her or something. Even if I remember the one time she freaked out
How
was
long did
I
you
pulled
last?
up an email that proved I
How
was
long
right.
did you last?
I pulled
Well,
up an email onto the screen to prove that I was right and she was wrong about a given point in dispute. She freaked out.
They can't take it. ENTJs can't. I feel that from my experience, they get offended, and they get offended by the truth. And it's like, yeah, but you did make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking, there's typos in your whatever it is.
Right.
So it's like, oh, but you shouldn't say that. That's rude. And you're like, that's not rude. That's true.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's like she was telling me I needed to redo some set of work because when we utilized it in Shanghai, it didn't work, and I'd already emailed her saying this is the wrong. I put in the old one into this package. I didn't put the correct document into here. That's why it didn't work. The new one, which has been working and used at other places, it works fine.
Yeah.
So I already explained that to her. It's
So
like
you know exactly at which point in the process had failed, and you know how to now prevent it from doing happening again, and you've got
Well,
memory of
well
it. That's
I
the
knew that it was an anomalous incident based on
yeah,
a organizational failure on my part, rather than a problem with the actual correct. Where I had. It's not that
yeah,
I didn't have the right ingredient. It's that I accidentally put the wrong bag of ingredients in.
yeah, yeah.
So and she was saying, no, you need to make sure you have the right ingredient. You don't have the right ingredient. I said, no, I do. You see, we had this exchange in last March or whatever when I was in Shanghai, and hey, boy, it was like a meteor had hit her on the head. She ran around screaming and stuff.
I think maybe like FI users must have it a bit harder because I sometimes see them as little toddlers coming up, like that little toddlers coming up. It's like, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of emotional vomit right now. Half of that is judgment, and it's incorrect. So, whoa, like I don't need to be taking all that in, right?
Right.
Uh, but I suppose we have our own shortcomings as ENTPs. What would be our, where are we the weakest?
Well, I mean, the thing is, for every type, with their fourth and their eighth slot functions, we don't want anybody interfering except insofar as we can delegate our fourth. So, in other words, you don't want anybody telling you what to do with your SI, your when to go to bed, when to get up, when to eat, whatever. But
Yeah.
but you'd like somebody to periodically hand you a plate of food.
Okay. Right.
But you know, it's like SI is one of those things that's not really very delegatable. Not much of it is. Anyway, the other thing is SE. So the worst possible thing for you is somebody who tells you what to do. To which you probably respond, "Don't fucking tell me what to do."
Well, not anymore because then problems with HR. You go like, interesting. Oh, right. So I appreciate your opinion, and then you go do. Like you gotta be so. Yeah, the older I get, the more socialized I feel that I am. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not.
No,
Maybe
me
I'm still
too. Me too for
alone.
sure. Look, those are areas where everybody improves as well. As gradually as you mature, your third and fourth slots become more of an asset in the former and less of a liability in the latter. So I still make SI, still have lots of SI mistakes, but they're much less major than they used to be. It used to be I would do things like, hey, let's go on a hike, and I wouldn't eat any breakfast or like bring any water with me, and I'd just be like 2 miles in, and then I'm like about to die, and go like, oh shit. Yeah, I used to do shit like that. I'm a little smarter than that now. I try to keep some attention to how I'm gonna feel physically later on.
I just forget like. Sometimes it's like 4 a.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m. I haven't eaten, and it's like, am I hungry? Should I eat now?
You're
I think I should.
past hungry, then you're just nauseous and you don't feel like eating, but you gotta
Like,
eat anyway.
like I have systems that allow me to track and monitor certain things, such as like my water intake is like I know how much I've consumed by monitoring the level of water that goes down, rather than me sitting here and thinking, oh, I'm feeling thirsty. Like, not really. It's like, oh, it's about 12 o'clock. You usually have a glass of water at that time. It's more likely to happen than me going, I feel a bit thirsty. Like this is the comparison.
Now,
But coming back, yeah.
are you doing all of this ENTP area without Amphetamines?
I have no addictions at all. My addiction is YouTube, I'd say. I love getting my brain engaged with new ideas, concepts, stimuli. And if I was to pinpoint to one thing, is really the is really like having something buzzing in my brain. I do a lot of auditory engagement. It doesn't have to be visual, but auditory is usually on. And it could be audiobooks, it could be podcasts, it could be YouTube in background. Like my brain is, from the moment I get up till the moment I go to sleep, there's stuff going on and on and on and on.
And what do you do when you're going to sleep? Do you have pretend places you go to occupy, or are you thinking about the day, or do you have some sort of like rest, like incantation thing you say, or do you have any sleep hygiene habits like that?
It depends, because sometimes I'm so knackered after the day that my head hits the pillow and it's like 3 minutes and I'm asleep. At times, if I have a lot of things to do the next day, or if I'm particularly excited about the next day, I just keep visualizing the shit that's gonna happen the next day, and it's so exciting. Like I feel like I'm there, right? It's like, oh, this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna go there, and this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. So I need to tell myself to go to sleep. I almost like I have to either put something on in the background, so it's going to be a volume down, a low volume um, lecture on something, and it's just going to put me to sleep because my thoughts are going to go there. Again, auditory. I need to occupy my auditory mind, but I can pretty much at at the very early on. I was probably 7 or 8. I watched a program in TV, and this person was basically showing how to relax. So there's this woman, and she was like, "Oh, you close your eyes, relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax your body, and then feel that weight of your body." And then she progressively went through full body relaxation. And I was like 7, 6. I was like, oh, I like this. I'm gonna do this, right? So on top of that, she showed a couple of NLP practices of how to manage thoughts. So since being a child, I remember laying down and like doing visualization of, okay, these are all my problems. I'm gonna put them here, and then I'm gonna lock them there. And I was a kid. Now that I am aware of what NLP actually is and what you do with it, I realized that I've been using a lot of those techniques on myself. And I'm actually now doing qualifications in NLP,
What is NLP?
neuro linguistic programming.
Okay.
So it is, yeah.
The
So you,
thing, what's
yeah,
interesting is I have very similar childhood stories. I listened to like self hypnosis tapes and stuff.
yeah,
My grandfather taught me a relaxation technique that I still remember and occasionally use to this day. That's like imagining this orange liquid being poured in me. He used to talk me to sleep like by doing this thing where the orange liquid pours in and it hits the bottom of your
yeah.
toes and you get very relaxed, and then it's like and I was kind
Yeah,
of into that stuff for a
using
while.
your, it works because it engages the frontal cortex, and it engages visual and the sensory in a way that allows you to just shift that ever-going mind, right? So you just basically you're narrowing the focus, and even if you narrow that focus by 1%, it's enough for the body to start to chill and relax. Now I have a qualification actually in hypnosis as well. I'm a hypnotherapist, so that's just like a side thing, like a side thing that I do. But what I realized is when I remember when I was 10 or 11, we went to a school thing, like we went to a school camp, right? And after the dinner, I took all the kids, like a group of kids, maybe 10, and I said, hey, let's relax. I was literally putting those kids, I was telling them, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, you relax. I was literally putting those kids into a semi like trance. I forgot about those techniques, and then I just recently they just like I felt like, oh, this is interesting again. So
You got to hypnotize your employees into being more competent.
I am working on that. But
Okay.
there, you don't have to hypnotize people. I believe that if you speak to people with the language of positive command, if you repeat it enough times, it sinks in. So you can use the language
Can you give me
which
some examples of positive command?
right. So positive command. So that I'm always banging about using what you want instead of focusing what you don't want, right? So you don't say like, don't be late tomorrow, right? It says, I like the fact that you are always on time to these meetings. You repeat this enough time, people go like, I am always on time. I'm always on time, right? And again, you create a version of reality that you decided to focus
Yeah,
on.
that's called meaning smithing.
Meaning splitting, is it? But what if it is actually true? What if you only use I like when you're on time when they are on time? You're not doing anything wrong. You're just bringing
I
attention.
didn't say anything wrong with it.
Right? You know, you're bringing attention to what you want, and in doing so, I feel where you channel attention and focus, you're gonna get more of that, right? So,
There are arts within that box ranging from pure white to the darkest black.
are there?
Nothing inherently wrong with doing it, but you have to have a moral compass, you know.
Oh yeah, no, of course this is not the only thing. I mean, this is just a slight incentivizing behaviors, right? This
You know,
is just one.
I try to do the same thing all the time, and on the largest scale I can, which isn't very large. I like how many times have I repeated the fact and made videos on the fact that TI is an objective calculus and not a subjective calculus. I keep driving this point home, and every time I repeat the thing, I get a little bit more efficient at explaining why, and I cover a little bit better this similar ground. Sometimes I break little bits of new ground. Like, you know, yesterday I made
Yeah,
a video on the subject where I pointed out that the reason Jung is wrong is because he's thinking that since TE is the individual attending to logics outside of themselves, that TI must be subjective logic. But in fact, language itself is the object outside of ourselves that TI attends to. It's FI that's the logic of the self. So it's like
because
that was
language
a
is,
new point, I guess.
if you look at language and structure of a language, it's yeah, it's a structure which conveys a message, right? So it's the way I see sentences, and this is how I learned English in particular, and also I used to speak German better than now. Now it's like terrible, but the way I learned language was looking at, this is where you put the verb, this is where you put the noun, this is where you insert that, and then I could learn the nouns, then I could learn the verbs, and then I could put them in when I wanted to use them. Like till now, till today, when I think about stuff like present simple or present continuous time in English, I see first and foremost, I see the structure written of where does this go, and then I can replace the elements that are replaceable to. And also, I've read somewhere as a study that actually proved that people who have strong logic, they do better with grammar in other language because it's very
Oh
logical, the
yeah,
structure
yeah, yeah.
of language.
That's yes. I read a book called The Orderly World of Grammar. I teach grammar, and I teach it with sentence diagramming. And grammar is essentially the logic of nuanced meaning, whereas
Right.
conditional logic is the logic of non-nuanced meaning. But the thing is, what's really fascinating here is that I have said on videos before as well that one quality of ENTPs is like when went to go take a Spanish class or something. What I wanted was for them to give me all of the grammar rules first, so then I could plug in vocabulary.
Yeah.
I've said just exactly the same thing as you just said.
You're exactly, or they just think they're gonna come up with the most. What is their logic? What's most
It,
likely situation you'll find yourself
yeah,
in?
they're
You're
trying to
gonna
take
go
it
on
from an
holiday.
SI approach. They're trying to take an
You're
SI
gonna want to
approach.
order a beer. It's like, well, no, I'm not gonna be that person who wants to order a beer. I want to express what I want to express.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, the last thing I want to say here before we stop this video is this is the remarkable thing about typology. You are 20 years younger than me, a girl who lives in England and was born somewhere else. I had a coach Aga work with me to school one time,
Oh, Poland,
who
yeah,
looked a lot like you. What country is that name common in?
Poland.
Poland. Okay, she was must have been
Born
Polish
Poland.
too, I guess. Um, she had a similar accent to you as well. So anyway, and yet you and I are so much the same person because we have the same cognitive function stack, right down to how we want to learn another language, right down to the idea that it's words that mean things, not people. that's basically implicit to the ENTP's worldview, and that's where we run afoul of the FI types because they basically see words as an attempt to express themselves that
The
either
people. Yeah. Yeah.
fails because you're not agreeing with them, or succeeds because you're going along with what they're saying.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like in every regard, all the way through this thing, you've given answers. You and I are a spitting image of each other. So, like, this is the beauty of typology. It is very hard to explain this in any way other than cognitive functions. We don't have the same background. We're not the same gender. We're at the same age. It's like there's nothing. There's no reason for us to have so much similarity in so many ways, down to being able to come up with a poem like that. All that stuff, except with cognitive functions. And when since I've done hundreds of these typings, like this is pretty powerful evidence of what I would say are the correlates described. That if in fact you have really strong extroverted intuition, you're also either going to have really strong introverted thinking or incredibly
Yeah.
weak introverted thinking. And it's not never going to be in between. Well, here we see it. So
Because we've removed so many things. Like we're born in different countries, different generation, different gender. What else? Whatever else is there, right? So what is the only common denominator is how the brain processes information or takes it in.
yeah, our habits
Yeah.
of attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so thanks for watching, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. I'm gonna stop this video right now. Is it cool if I publish this?
Yes. Have I said anything that can incriminate me?
No,
Like,
you haven't said anything
what?
bad at all. You've been so milk toast perfectly agreeable to anybody that nobody could have any objection.
Oh, this is not usually how I'm described. Agreeable with each other.
Okay, cool.